Hey guys, I'm back and we are playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Today we're going to be doing a League Loot stream. We're going to be checking out a reward that you can earn, you could have earned. It's sort of no longer available via viewership rewards for the Call of Duty League Major 1. So had you watched the Call of Duty League Major 1 finals day for 2 hours and you had your YouTube and your Activision account linked up, you'd have earned yourself a blueprint. So that's what we're planning on checking out. It's the viewership reward for finals day, 2 hour reward. There were also other rewards, smaller rewards, calling cards, charms, XP tokens over the course of the last few days for the major. And then during the preliminary rounds, there was XP tokens to be earned via viewership rewards. So yeah, if you earned yourself them rewards, should be in your account. Again, you needed to watch it live, the events live, and for the X amount of time for this different rewards. And you needed to have your Activision and YouTube account linked up again, needed to watch it on YouTube live. So let's go ahead and see what we're talking about. So the finals day 2 hour reward was a blueprint. It's the Renetti handgun, Frostbite. Let's play the preview animation and get a closer look. So yeah, it's a Renetti handgun. The Renetti is the secondary of choice for the pros, but this is not a build that you would use in the ranked mode or anything like that. It's definitely got attachments that are probably GA'd or not going to, or will be GA'd. There's one attachment that will be GA'd soon. Yeah, once you change around attachments, you do sort of lose the blueprint quite a bit. So to maintain the blueprint, you'd want to keep some of them attachments, but that doesn't really apply. Usually with the viewership rewards for the majors, it isn't a blueprint that's meant to be for just the ranked or the like serious players. It's meant to be a viewership reward for everybody that, potentially could use it in pubs and all, regardless of how serious you take the game. So that's sort of what this is. Even though it is a weapon that can be used in rank mode and is being used in rank mode, build-wise, it's more for like the pub audience, pub players. So there are 3 attachments with this blueprint. It comes with the MLX extended heavy barrel, which is aiming idle sway, recoil control, bullet velocity and range, gun kick control at the cost of movement speed, hip fire and tack stand spread, aim walking speed, and sprint to fire speed. The akimbo grip for the Renetti, so you can akimbo the weapon at the cost of damage range and hip fire spread. And finally, the Bruin Express trigger, which is fire rate at the cost of aiming idle sway and sprint to fire speed. These are the 3 attachments that you get. As I mentioned, the akimbo attachment, I'm guessing, is GA'd, so you probably can't use that in ranked mode. I haven't really played the ranked mode, so I'm not sure exactly. And the Bruin Express, I heard that this was an available attachment in ranked mode, but it has been GA'd by the pros and will be restricted in ranked mode with the upcoming updates if it hasn't already. As far as the barrel goes, I'm not totally certain whether this is available to everybody in the ranked mode or not. But it isn't the common attachment that you would use in ranked mode. So yeah, let's go ahead and see what it looked like once you change things around. So yeah, once you change the barrel around, you do lose a pretty hefty portion of what the blueprint looks like, which is a little unfortunate. Laser attachments. I think the laser attachments are GA'd in ranked mode, but for the pubs players and all that, you can totally throw that as an attachment. Optics. Stock. Grips. It's a pretty nice looking grip, but if you want to lose that akimbo attachment, you're either going to have no grip or lose the grip visuals. Triggers. Magazine attachment. Unfortunately, it's being blocked by the thing, but yeah, it sticks out from underneath. You're not really losing anything, but yeah. Ammunition won't change anything visually. If you want the muzzle attachment, apparently the heavy barrel blocks it, so you need to remove the barrel or change it, and then you can add the muzzle attachment. And then I don't think there is any underbarrel attachments, it seems like, and ammunition won't change anything visually. So that's the blueprint the way you get it, and if you decide to change attachments around, it's good. These are the stats for the blueprint. Movement speed's at 5.1 M-S. Now, because I've played with this build a little bit, I can tell you straight up, like, you're probably going to want to adjust the build. At least add some attachments to make the akimbo build a little more viable. But you do have 2 open slots to do with something. So I would definitely suggest maybe considering a laser attachment for hip fire and maybe a larger magazine, possibly. But yeah. This is the camo coverage for the blueprint. Basically takes over the whole blueprint. Mastery camos. The mastery camo is the secondary portion of the camo. So it just sort of encompasses the whole blueprint. But only the secondary portion of the camo is what's taking over everything. You don't actually get the primary camo. Zombie camos. Mastery camos. Again, secondary portion of the zombie camos seems to be what takes over the whole blueprint. And then finally, solid colors. In solid colors, you are retaining a portion of the blueprint, but it doesn't look great, I feel. Maybe if you find the right camo and combination, it might look decent. But yeah, personally, I don't think... I think the camo coverage is the biggest letdown as far as this blueprint goes. It really isn't anything special. All right, let's go ahead and jump in and play some games. So this is like a third take. This blueprint is really tough to use. It's a handgun, first of all, and then the akimbo attachment on certain maps just doesn't play particularly well, like unless you're cheesing it a lot. And even when you're not cheesing it, when you've got like a regular build with the blueprint, it's still a handgun against regular guns. So it's not particularly the easiest thing to do well with. We'll probably keep the second take because that had some decent gameplay, at least with the way the blueprint was. But the rest of the games are a mess, honestly. It'll probably be the case again. Like, there's not much I can do about making amazing gameplay with this gun. But we'll try.
To us. Eliminate them. Friendly mosquito deployed. Friendly UAV online. Hostile SAE near your position.
Fishmash, stop it, man. What are you doing, man? Stop being an idiot. Shish, why are you such an asshole sometimes, man?
Friendly care package on the way. Friendly UAV online. Friendly mosquito active. Hostile counter UAV overhead. Hostile SAE incoming. Friendly UAV on station. Hostile drone launch online. Airstrike, find cover. Mission is complete.
Shish, why you get at, like, why you do this nonsense? What are you? You're like an idiot.
deployed. We've taken the lead. Friendly care package on the way. Friendly SAE on the way.
UAV is bingo fuel.
The enemy's taken the lead. Be ready.
Copy. Counter UAV is blocking enemy recon.
We've secured the lead.
Bingo fuel. RTV at this time.
Ah. Hey, I wanted my pistols back. Because I don't want to lose it.
Friendly mosquito active. You're halfway to mission complete. Finish it. Mission time is half over. Maintain.
Copy that. UAV online and orbiting the AO. Be advised, UAV is exiting the AO.
Hostile UAV in the area. Friendly mosquito deployed.
Dude, what is this fucking teammate doing?
Hostile mosquito is online.
I'm just gonna go with gold because the others just don't look that good. The mastery camo at least. Dude, get the fuck off this ladder, man. Honestly, that went better than I thought it would. Like, that map really doesn't cater well to, like, close range, hip fire nonsense. So that was the build, the way you get it, and with Mastery Camo. Like I said in the beginning, it's not actually a horrible build. It's just that it's missing the attachments that make an akimbo build more viable, like tightening up the hip fire spread, most likely with a laser, having a little extra ammunition so you can keep going. With the reload was extremely slow on the akimbo, so having that little extra would definitely go a long way. Uh, Otherwise, it's okay. It's actually an okay build. I don't know about the trigger, whether that's a viable thing for hip fire nonsense. I guess it is. I guess it is. Cupcake, what are you doing? All right, for this next build, we're going to try out what is basically the pro build for the Renetti. Now, this is actually an awful build. I'm going to be realistic. It's not a particularly good build, especially if you're trying to go primary with the pistol. But I'll explain further. Let's go ahead and see what the attachments are. The MLX short compensation short competition barrel. The EXF Eclipser grip. And then it's an optic of your choice. Some people go with no optic. Some people are going with the slate reflector. I'm actually just going to go with the Cronin Mini Pro because that's what I prefer on my handguns. But the usual is either no attachment, no optic, or the slate reflector because it's got a little cleaner line. I just prefer for like handgun to have the little tighter Cronin Mini Pro than. So that's just a personal preference. Again, mainly optic of your choice because if you want to go with one or not, and whichever one you're comfortable with as far as the optics go. Because most of these don't have any negative effect as far as just being a cleaner line of sight, like cleaner optics thing, right? Precision sight picture, no cons. Now, the reason I straight up said this is actually an awful build is because the pros aren't utilizing the handgun as a primary weapon. The main purpose of like the secondary is to have like really good movement speed so they can switch to it to get from point A to point B much faster with their opening pushes or when they're rotating to another new location and stuff like that. That's the main purpose when they'll utilize their secondary. It's just to get that extra movement speed that you wouldn't have with your primary weapon. Now, the main people that utilize that is people that would use normally a melee weapon to get from point A to point B. But the melee weapons have been GA'd in the pro scene, so they all kind of are using the pistol. So all of them are utilizing this build, so they get that extra movement speed. Even the ones that didn't use like melee weapons to like rotate would still prefer having a more mobile secondary than a competent one. Now, they're all very good at their game. So like they do utilize their secondary for cleanup kills or like a quick close range kill when they only have like longer range weapons. So it is utilized and very efficiently, and they do get a lot of kills with the pistol in the game. But for the most part, the build is just movement speed based. That's what it is, and what are they utilizing? If they were actually using this for actual gunfights and all, and it was a serious weapon for gunfights, then they wouldn't be utilizing this. Like I said, for a quick cleanup or a fast close range gunfight, it generally does the job. It's just that if you're using it as a primary, you're probably going to be shooting yourself in the foot because it really isn't that great for primary action. Let's go ahead and jump in and try it out. I actually reduced my sensitivity because when hip firing Like I prefer to have slightly slower sensitivities. So I'm just bumping that up now. That will be aiming down sights. Again, like a lot of the pro builds, like people think, oh, they're pro players, so they must be using the best build for the gun. But the problem with pro builds is because there's so many restrictions and so many of the attachments are GA'd, so many XYZ, that the builds are actually subpar when it comes to utilizing it for pubs, you know, where like all the weaponry is fine, right? It's more for something just like even the like ARs and the SMG that they use, the attachments are limited in comparison to what you have access to in pubs. So it's mainly done to make the game more competitive on a pro level. Like if you have all these like crazy attachments that basically reduce all the recoil or something, or make the guns extremely fast, sprint to fire and aim down sights for the SMGs or something like that, the game becomes kind of like broken and uncompetitive, like because it's just too chaotic and too easy, like especially with low recoil, right? So to increase that skill gap, they do restrict a lot of attachments that would otherwise be useful in pubs. And that applies true to the like Renetti also, in my opinion. Like I tried this build, honestly it's awful. It really is pretty bad. But we'll just showcase it at least. So if you're going into rank mode, you might want to utilize this build as your secondary. Again, mainly for movement speed and Teammate, why would you turn, man?
Halfway to mission complete. Careful. Maintain the lead. Hostiles deploy the Mosquito. Request the lead. Hostile UAV in the area. Enemy infiltrator.
Loading.
Hostiles launched the cruise missile.
Ay. Ay, shit.
1 minute remaining.
Fuck.
Mission failed. Return to base.
It's really just a secondary. Like when I got to like secondary positions, like where I was close, it was effective. Like otherwise, it's not really good, and it doesn't really have enough ammunition to like be like a very good primary. It it's a competent secondary, but I wouldn't say it's something you want to run around with. Like it's no primary, that's for damn sure, but it does get the job done in a pinch, which is what it's there for, right? Again, for the most part, it's just these two attachments, optic of your choice. What might be going down in ranked mode is I think the Bruin Express might be being utilized, but the reason, or at least one of these triggers might be utilized. I'm not sure which one. I think it's the Bruin Express. But the reason like I'm not showcasing it is because as far as the pros go, that attachment has been GA'd. And as far as ranked mode goes, that is going to become a restricted attachment with a coming up update if it hasn't already been restricted. So some people in ranked mode might be using the trigger, but it'll soon be like removed. You won't be able to. Now for the next build, what's up, Happy? How you doing? For the next build, we're gonna maintain the blueprint as much as we can, but we're removing that akimbo nonsense and trying to just make it more a viable secondary primary. This is still a pistol, and in my opinion, it's a mid pistol, like as far as like utilizing it as a primary. But maintaining pistol visuals and gameplay and maintaining blueprint as much as we can, I've decided to build it like this. So we're keeping the extended heavy barrel, adding the optic for the Cronin Mini Pro, removing the akimbo attachment for the Bruin Onslaught Assault Grip, and then throwing on the 24 round mags, keeping the Bruin Express. So we're maintaining visuals pretty nicely, short of the like grip. I did like the grip, and if we remove the grip altogether, we'll still go single without the akimbo and maintain it. But because your hand's covering it, this is more a viable grip and more useful than anything else. So we're going to keep it. So that's the idea for this build. It's no one recommended this build. It's just something like I put together. Ideally, honestly, I would like to have a silencer when going primary pistol, just to be off the radar. And unfortunately, because of this heavy barrel, you just can't put a silencer. I honestly don't know why. Like, usually when they block off the muzzle, it's because there's an integrated suppressor or something like that. But an extended barrel should have a spot for the muzzle. Like, you should be able to screw on a suppressor on it or something, right? So I don't quite understand why. Maybe it's because the extended barrel is the muzzle or something like that, I guess. I don't know the logic behind why the muzzle got restricted for that particular attachment. But this is more a viable like handgun build if you're going for more traditional handgun gameplay as primary action. Honestly, like for me, I would actually say. Anyway, let's play the game and then go from there. I would actually argue this is the better secondary build than the pro build, because for me, I don't really look for like crazy movement or getting that jump on people. I just want like a decently like. What? I mean, the game's done, even though it's in our favor. I'm gonna back up. We'll find a different game. The game's almost done. Even though it was in our favor. Yeah, just, find something full. Honestly, that pro build, when I first used it in the take before this, like I was shocked at how bad it was. Like I wasn't expecting it to be that bad, and I just completely got crapped on because I was just like not prepared for how bad that build was actually. This time around, like I didn't do great or anything, but I was more competent with it because I just was a little more familiar with it not being particularly a great build. I think Karachi might be a good. Yes, Iris, whatever. Dude, where the fuck are teammates, man? This crap, dude. You know, we're winning and all, but man, fucking teammates are all over the place, man. And I just can't fucking get a good flow. At least have some backup, man. Like I was in that hard point, that last one, man, and like the entire enemy, like I mean, friendly team was on the opposite end of the map. They won't even come into the hard point. It's like, dude, what are you guys doing, dude? And it basically just spawned the enemy team on top of me, man. It just pissed me off, dude. Fucking with a pistol trying to like do the whole team. Yeah, right, dude.
Neutralize hostiles, grab their tags to win. Simple enough. We've taken the lead. We're tied with the enemy. We've lost the lead. Hostile care package inbound. Secure the lead. The enemy's taken the lead. Confirm that one. Hostile UAV. Kill confirmed.
Dude, don't tell me teammate didn't clean that up, man.
We've taken the lead. Confirmed.
Oh, how many SUVs are there?
Hostile UAV in the area. Enemy UAV active. Hostile deployed a remote turret. Hostile Wilson in the area. Hostile care package inbound. Hostile care package deployed. Final minute. Hostile bomb drone is active. Hostile Guardian has been deployed. 30 seconds remain. Friendly UAV online. Hostile remote turret is active. 10 seconds remaining. Hostile UAV in the area. Compromise. We failed.
It's not got a particularly good time to kill, honestly, man. Even with the heavy barrel and all, it's not a particularly good time to kill. So yeah, that was like a more practical build for it. I don't like the Renetti's just not. It's a mid-tier pistol. The Core 45 is like hands down the better pistol. It just is, and I honestly don't understand why this barrel blocks off the muzzle. I don't get it. Like this barrel, if it didn't block off the muzzle, we could throw on a suppressor. Then it becomes a little bit more viable because you're not giving away a position quite as much as a primary. But the time to kill is pretty bad in comparison to the Core 45. Like especially like medium ranges and longer ranges. Like even with this like larger barrel. That's why when I used the Renetti, I threw on the kit, the SMG conversion kit, the Jack Ferocity carbine kit. So this is the build I actually used when I ground out the gun once I like leveled it up and had some reasonable attachments. The FT Steel Fire, Cronin Mini Pro, Bruin Onslaught Assault Grip, Jack Ferocity carbine kit, and then the 30 round mag. Oh, okay. So the base pistol can't put under barrels, but the kit allows you to. So when you throw on the kit, then you can throw on like under barrel attachment. I thought the under barrel was just part of the build. Interesting. I didn't realize that. I honestly thought the kit would block off the like under barrel because it seems to have like a built-in one, right? But no, it looks like it opens it up for an under barrel, which makes a little bit more sense. Because, I mean, an underbarrel on a pistol is kind of strange. Considering how bad our team was doing in that last game, I'm kind of surprised, what's it called? Like, that other teammate got the gunship first before the enemies did. Dude, vote for Rio, dude. Are you fucking kidding? Vote for Rio. Don't vote for Terminal. If it's Terminal, I'm just gonna back out, dude, honestly. Okay, I'm backing out, dude. Fuck that. Terminal is just not SMG friendly, dude. It's not close range friendly. You gotta play so ratty just to like break even on it. It's like really annoying. Honestly, till the end. This 23 is suspicious. 23 rank player. I feel like low rank players in this game like are suspicious now. Because why are you so low rank? You must be like created a new account to cheat. But maybe he's grinding out and he'll play legit until he gets to the rank mode and then he'll start cheating. Who knows?
Kill confirmed. Kill them and secure their tags. We've secured the lead.
Are you fucking kidding, dude? If I die to this person one more time, I'm leaving. That was very suspicious, but I don't know. I don't know. I did get outplayed all 4 times, but it was very suspicious too. I'm honestly probably just gonna keep the first take. Like, I actually think the first take, the games against with the regular like build was better. They were both. I think they were better. This is the same trash lobby, dude. I'm not playing it. But the other games were awful. Whereas in this one, the other games are like, okay, I guess. Not really anything great either. Plus, I did my whole outro on that, which I don't really want to repeat. We'll play this one out and then we'll just call it. I'm not going to do an outro. We'll just keep the second take. Who cares? This one I did a better job with the like pro build because I kind of like realized what it was all about. Whereas the other one I didn't. I was just kind of like dumbfounded by how bad it was. Dude, I'm not playing either of those maps. I might just call it now. Fuck it. I don't even know why. We're gonna keep that second take anyway. I want to repeat the outro more than anything else. General thoughts is this is a shit blueprint. It's not worth your like crying about if you missed out on it. It's not anything special if you got it. Which kind of sums up like the CDL experience at the moment. It's kind of like a shitter experience at the moment, in my opinion. Like I just have like negative like this year of the CDL. I've just like not been super into it at all. To be real. This game is kind of in a shitter state, dude, in my opinion. Like, it's been just genuinely, like, flooded with hackers. You don't know when you're playing against a real player and when you're not. So you question everything. This is exactly the issue with what happened in Cold War. Like, it got to the point where there were so many hackers you just didn't know if you were playing against real people. Like, or they were just cheating. But yeah, the blueprint's also trash.
Domination. 141. Secure and maintain the objective.
Covering your
We
six.
control Alpha. We've secured. We're taking Bravo.
Why is the reload so fucking slow on this gun? It's a fucking pistol, man. Should have a really fast reload, even with the extended mags.
We're taking Bravo. Objective Charlie is compromised. Get it back.
I mean, this is definitely the way to use this gun if you're primary using it. Without question. Wow, this game makes me want to redo my whole outro. Because I don't know which one will be better. This is third take or the second take. Probably this third take, honestly. Anyway, that was my build when I used the Renetti. Honestly, it's a pretty close range SMG, like conversion kit build. So like even the bigger maps and all, like in the previous take when I used this kit, I got completely shit on because I was trying to stretch the ranges out. You can't. The way I was playing it in this map, I was playing it like a little like cheesy because I was just holding the top and just picking them off when they got to the flag. But it was close range, you know, like or medium range-ish, close to medium. So that's where this like kind of build excels. Like beyond that, it's just kind of a rubbish build, just like the gun is kind of like in my opinion. But yeah, those are the builds that we tried out. Honestly, this build, I want to like it. I do, this one. But I think because of the burst feature of this build, it holds it back. Because the spread of the burst makes it, and it just doesn't give the damage output that you should be getting, which you would get with the Core 45. Even though you're not bursting the Core 45, you're able to hit more shots. Like more of those like shots are hitting, as opposed to the burst hitting a few of those bursts, but like some of the like bullets are not hitting because of the spread, right? So you're getting more shots on target quicker with the Core 45, which generally is better. So you can stretch out the ranges as a primary potential, as opposed to this one, which it is a good build, but just because of the burst properties of it, I felt it's not actually built the right way for this gun. Like this gun, honestly, like I actually think it excels from just being aggressive and close with it. And the surprising thing in this take, right, was this build, even though I said it's a really bad build, what makes it really good is the fact that you can just hip fire blast it. And you'll potentially get multiple hit markers and potentially kills because you can just start splashing it onto the enemy, like spraying it onto the enemy. And the bursts are, enough of the bullets are going to hit, and you can be aggressive and move around in that hip fire kind of like stance, right? And that's where this build sort of excelled. And now I'm sort of understanding why the Renetti is maybe a little bit better as a secondary potential, or at least a viable secondary potential. Where in my head, like the Core 45 is just hands down the better handgun. It just is, because you have more versatility and it's reasonably okay close range, right? Whereas this one, it is pretty good close range, and you can sort of hip fire and get away with it and do a lot of damage, right? So I think that's sort of how you have to play the Renetti. Keep it close. Don't actually build it for like range, and just sort of like hip fire when you're in a tight position and aim down sights when you're not, but don't stretch out the ranges too much, you know? Just don't waste your time with it. So yeah, Renetti Frostbite Blueprint. It's the major one viewership reward for watching the finals day. It's the big ticket item as far as viewership rewards this major. And you needed to watch 2 hours. Had you watched it and you had your YouTube and Activision account linked up, this should be in your inventory. Again, if it's not in your inventory, my best suggestion is reach out to like Activision support. There's a Activision support website where you can file a ticket and mention on the ticket like, hey, I watched the major, my console linked up, but this item is not in my inventory. And they will help you out, sort you out. And that's the case with all the viewership rewards for Activision. If it's not in your inventory and you met the requirements and you got the item, you should be getting the item, just reach out to them and they'll help you out. Nothing I can really do about it. And this does happen often enough with the like viewership rewards. With this one, it didn't seem to have any issues for me, at least. That being said, though, let's get to like the blueprint itself. And visually, it's actually a nice looking blueprint. I do like it. It's kind of the camo coverage that lets you down big time. Like that's where it falls apart. And then obviously once you start changing around attachments to meet maybe like something more suiting for you or the mode that you're playing, like ranked mode, it sort of starts falling apart even more, because the minute you change the barrel and stuff, you're losing the whole blueprint for the most part. And there are going to be adjustments you're going to want to make to the attachments based on how you want to utilize it, for sure. That being said, the MLX heavy barrel, this akimbo build actually isn't awful. It's actually all right, in my opinion. It's just that it's missing attachments that would make it better. And that's why, like, for me, it's like, man, this is kind of a shit blueprint. Like, because ideally they would have given you those attachments. Like, they're giving you an akimbo build. Why not just pad out the 5 attachments, give you a laser, a hip fire laser that allows it, maybe throw on a larger magazine and have it fit, like, so it's a nice, like, so like they've actually designed the laser and the magazine attachment to go along with the blueprint. I mean, like I said, even if you're maintaining this blueprint the way it's built, you're going to want to add something to tighten up that hip spread so you can utilize the akimbo more efficiently. And maybe throw on a larger magazine, because those reload times are brutal, and having a little extra ammo will get you out of a pinch, right? And like I said, if you start changing around attachments, it sort of starts falling apart, which is unfortunate. I mean, I've done like 3 takes today with this blueprint, and this is the kind of weapon and build and blueprint that makes me not want to cover blueprints, because it is more of a headache to utilize and try to even get gameplay for. Honestly, I'm actually kind of surprised with the gameplay of the build. In the second take, actually, the build games were pretty decent. Like, the 2 of the 3 games were pretty decent, right? The second game and the thing, which is why I'm debating whether I should keep the second take or the third take. Whereas this one, 2 of the games were, like, one game was bad, I guess. Second game was decent. And then the third game wasn't bad, but it was Rust. So I was like, all right, whatever. I did all right on that game, I think. But, like, I mean, I went in the negative. It was Rust, right? And then, like I said, I was honestly hoping for more with the non-akimbo build while retaining the blueprints like visuals, because I thought like the heavy barrel and the like fire rate trigger and all would be good. Like, it would make the gun better and more versatile. But because of that burst feature of the pistol, it really does fall apart at medium longer ranges and stuff like that, right? Both and in between that. It's still like a weapon that you sort of want to keep close, which makes sense for a pistol. But you've got that heavy barrel and all. You want it to like stretch the ranges out, and it doesn't really stretch it out enough to make it worth the effort. Like, I just don't think the barrel adds so much so that like you want to utilize it. But yeah, it's the blueprint. It's the viewership reward. Looks okay. It's okay. Honestly, the viewership reward blueprints, like with the CDL, they tend to start off like kind of a letdown, and they ramp it up. So hopefully the following majors, the blueprints will be like better looking. I don't know build wise. I can't remember how good or bad the builds are for these league reward, viewership reward stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think if you missed out, you didn't really miss out on anything amazing. If you earned it, it should be in your inventory if it's not sorted out. But I just don't see myself using the blueprint beyond this stream. So, I mean, I don't like the gun. as a secondary. Like I said, the Core 45, in my opinion, is the better handgun, just generally. And I don't play ranked mode, and even if I did, this wouldn't be the build for ranked mode. So, like the issue with this build, even if you retain it for ranked mode, and say the barrel is okay, but you change the grip and all, and you remove the trigger, so it's like compatible with the rule sets for ranked mode, right? I don't know. I presume the barrel is okay. It's actually like I realized when I was using my build this without the hip fire, like the regular one, that at close range, the longer barrel is a bit of a detriment. Having that longer barrel was a little bit more detrimental. That's why I think, even though the rank mode build, when I said, I was like, man, that's a really bad build. It makes a lot of sense for utilizing as a secondary and for movement to get from point A to point B. Whereas this one, it's sort of like, it's not really worth it, man, for any viable reason, in my opinion. And then in pubs, the primary use of this weapon, I think, is the conversion kit into the SMG has more value, because it does sort of like that burst issue at longer ranges. It's not a great gun for longer ranges, even with the SMG conversion, but at least you have like consistent fire because it's a full auto once you put the conversion. Whereas the burst, you're dealing with the burst delay, and some of the bullets won't hit because it's the burst spread and all that nonsense, right? So yeah, that's just my thoughts overall with the blueprint. It looks nice though. It does look nice. I like it visually. Camo coverage is kind of the big letdown as far as that goes. So yeah, I think more negatives than positives, but whatever. So now I have to redo my whole fucking outro. Because, so we're going to talk about the major a little bit, because I guess that's the whole purpose of the viewership reward. So with the major one, the big winner, spoilers now. So if you don't want the spoilers, I don't know. It's a sports game. They already spoil it, man, for everyone by announcing who won. Toronto Ultra won, and they were the like dominant team throughout the whole like major like bracket play. Like they were really good. They were just really good throughout the whole thing, and they deserved the win. FaZe came second, and then Optic was third, runner-up. So the three big dogs, as far as at the moment, they sort of played out the way the finals should have played out, and everyone sort of somewhat expected. As far as the matches go, I do recommend watching them. Like it is, like all three teams are like masterclass players. Like if you want to see like just high quality like gameplay, that's what you really should be watching. Like I think a lot of people mistake the pub stompers and all that who are dropping nukes. That's like the exciting gameplay that you want to watch, right? But if you want to actually watch high skill, high like just quality gameplay, it's the pros that you really should be watching. And I think the three like kind of like final matches of this bracket were all worthy of rewatching or watching if you haven't already. So what happened was, in the winners bracket, the finals match was Ultra versus FaZe. They got to the finals in the winners bracket, and Ultra beat them. So here's spoilers again, right? And this whole thing's going to be spoilers for it. And sent FaZe to the losers bracket finals. Optic had been knocked down to the losers bracket and had got to the finals, losers bracket finals match, and took on FaZe. Now, the first match, the Ultra versus FaZe, like in the winners finals, Ultra played really freaking well. Like they kind of dominated FaZe throughout that. There was one really good match that FaZe pulled up in, I think, the Control, but for the most part, Ultra was like just masterclassing them. Then when FaZe and Optic went up against each other, like FaZe was just the dominant team on that. Like Optic wasn't looking too great, and FaZe got themselves back into the grand finals and got the rematch against Ultra. And then the grand finals, again, really high skill quality gameplay from all the players. I definitely recommend, if you want to watch just high skill gameplay, just watch these games, because you'll learn a thing or two, not only spots, but just how people play and the way they like treat the like how to like handle situations and all in gunfights and all. There's really like a lot to learn as far as that goes. But for the most part, Ultra was dominating phase throughout. I still think it's worth, like, both teams are like very high skill teams. So even though like Ultra like dominated phase in the game, phase did look very good skill wise. It's not like they were like poor skills. It's just Ultra was the better team in the end of the day for that day, right? And yeah, unfortunately, like FaZe kind of got slammed a little bit in the grand finals. You do also have to understand, like, the matches, the way they go is it'll be like the finals, winners finals, then the losers finals, and then the grand finals, right? So FaZe ended up playing 3 matches in a row. So they would have been pretty tired by the grand finals. Yeah, they would have been warmed up because they played 3 matches in a row, but also they're very high level of matches. That is very draining and all. So it was unfortunate, but yeah, FaZe got beat. And this is sort of like the story of FaZe's like thing with CDL is like they tend to like, what's it called, get a lot of second places in the grand finals. I think the best year for FaZe was like the Cold Warrior. That's where they won all sorts of craziness, right? But otherwise, they're an insanely top tier team that everyone expects to do very, very well every year, and they always do. But they tend to choke the finals often, or not necessarily choke it. They do put a good fight all the time. It's always a good game. But they tend to lose it. You know, they tend to be second placers for a lot of these tournaments, which I was hoping would be different this year because they made a roster change and they brought in Draza into the roster. And I was hoping Draza and all would help the FaZe boys go over the line this time around. And I'm still hopeful. They're still the top tier team, in my opinion, and a team to beat kind of thing, right? So I do expect a lot from them in the following majors. But yeah, it would be nice to see them win it. I was rooting for them. I was hoping my pick'ems had them winning the grand finals this major, which obviously didn't go the way I wanted it to. The other interesting thing about this, the 3 big dogs in this game, is last year the LA Thieves, the LA, like 100 Thieves, the LA Thieves or whatever team, they kind of broke up. Like they all moved on basically, not because of like bad blood or anything. There was just financial stuff going on with the 100 Thieves or the LA Thieves, a bit, I guess. And so a lot of the like big players decided to move on and look for better opportunities. And since the whole team was kind of breaking up, like they all sort of decided to move on. Now the 4 players of like the LA Thieves, I hope I'm getting this right. I hope I'm not mistaken it, but it was Octane who basically retired after last year. He just completely retired. Then it was Draza, Envoy, and Kenny. So these were the 4 players of like 100 Thieves, right? Now, Octane left, so it's just the 3 players that were like available for other teams. So Draza joined FaZe, Envoy joined Ultra, Toronto Ultra, and Kenny joined Optic. So the 3 boys from 100 Thieves or the LA Thieves or whatever you want to call them are now in the top 3 teams, top tier teams of the like CDL this year, which is kind of an interesting like storyline. I feel that they all are in the best teams this year, and they all are worthy of the best teams this year. It's not like they just kind of fluked out into it. They're all playing their roles very well and worthy of being in those top tier teams. personally, like, I'm a fan of Envoys. Like, I've been a fan of Envoys for a while. Like, and he's in Toronto Ultra. And I said this in the first take, and I'll say it again. He's actually an interesting player because he goes under the radar a lot for a lot of people. People who know who Envoy is and have seen him play, they know like he's a top tier player. He is just a really good player, right? But because he's not like the personality, the top tier personalities like Scrappy is or Draza and all that, right? Or Shotzi, right? These are all like big personalities in the scene, right? He sort of goes under the radar, and he's actually a top tier player. Like he's like it's just like I'm fascinated by his presence in the team, because I wouldn't necessarily say he is the like best player in the team, like he is the playmaker and all that, but he is one of the top players in the teams that he's in usually, and his kind of like under the radar personality is what kind of interests me, because he went to LA Thieves, right? And then they won the Vanguard year. And now he's in the Ultra team and they're doing really well and winning this year, like at least the first major, right? So I'm actually interested in knowing what he's contributing to the team, because he's clearly contributing something special, even though he seems to sometimes go under the radar. And again, both teams when he was on, like the LATs, and this one, they're both good teams. So the other players definitely deserve credit too. But it just seems like a little bit of a fascinating story, in my opinion, the Envoy story, possibly. I would definitely be interested in knowing more about that. Draza's a big personality, and honestly, he's doing pretty well in FaZe. Again, I sort of was hoping he'd be like the key factor to take FaZe to get the dub for FaZe this year, because they've been getting a lot of second places in the last few years, right? But we'll see, maybe future majors. And then Kenny, like, I think my biggest issue with Optic is Optic tends to be like a very heavy personality-driven team. Because I think it's actually sort of because of how Hex likes to like treat his players and tries to encourage them to be more than just pro players. So he wants like them to like build an audience and stream and do the podcasting and stuff, so they become more than just the pro players, right? Because often with sports, once your pro career is done, you're sort of done. Like there's nothing else for you. But if you can sort of build that personality and the persona and all that, you can sort of take your career forward even after your pro stint, right? Like a lot of pro players, they might become commentators in other sports and all. With esports, like the really talented pro players with good personalities tend to become streamers, right? And the better personality, a more attractive personality that you can showcase while you're a pro player, the bigger the audience you have to like carry over to your future streaming potential after your pro career, right? So I do think often Optic, because of like Hex's support for that, tend to like push the players into a very heavy personality driven thing. And personally, I think as pros, that does sometimes make them not as good, in my opinion. I think pushing that personality thing is definitely valuable for their future. But as far as the pro scene goes, I feel sometimes it holds them back as pros, because like they get a little too full of themselves or too heavy on that personality quest, and they're not focused as much in the pro scene possibly. And I think that often is the case with Optic. That seems to happen often with the Optic players, where they kind of get a little bit big in the head sometimes, right? But Kenny's definitely been reining that in as far as that goes for their team. So he's been pretty useful as far as that goes and kind of keeping them in check. But I do still feel that is still a bit of an issue with Optic, which is why I've sort of not been like full-heartedly supporting them. Like I've sort of like, I don't have any, like I don't want them to like do badly or anything, but I don't really like care if they do good anymore. I used to be a big Optic fan, right? But yeah, I think it's so strange when you think about it, because as an owner of a team, like these kind of CDL teams, you'd think like the ulterior motive for the owners is they want the team to win at whatever the cost, right? And they want them just to play the best and be the winners. That's the main goal for having them in the thing, because then it becomes more like marketable, and then they can sell products and stuff like that and get money back from that. Whereas Hex seems to be more caring, like cares about their future and all. And sometimes I feel like he's sacrificing his own like potential Optic success in favor for the players' success, future, whether they be in Optic or not. It's a little weird, right? Like I would always think like, man, Hex, man, just force these guys to like scrim every day, all day, and get that dub, right? But no, he seems to be like more. I don't know. It's a cool thing. I think it showcases a good like personality, person. Like he shows that he's a good person that cares about these people. But as an owner, I'm like, man, you're sort of like losing out. But yeah, those are the three teams, and that's kind of like the breakdown as far as that goes. And I think the big surprises for this major were some of the like low tier and mid tier teams, because what was happening in the preliminary rounds is it seemed very clear cut. The top tier teams were the top tier teams, and the bottom tier teams were just fighting for scraps, but they didn't really have a chance to make any legitimate run in the majors or for the competition. It seemed like very locked down to the top tier teams, right? But when the major came around, that ended up not holding so true to itself. A lot of the lower tier teams and the mid tier teams actually made pretty interesting runs. And some of the top tier teams that I expected to do well didn't. Like, I think, let's just get out the big disappointments. The biggest disappointment is probably the New York Subliners. They were a top 4 team. They won last year's championship games. So they were coming in like as the dominant horse this year around. And they got knocked out they're like bottom 12, like the bottom 12 teams. Like they lost in the winners finals, got dropped to the losers first tier bracket and lost in that. And they were out. So they got knocked out immediately, practically. They had 2 games, winners, lost, losers lost, and they lost badly too. So that was kind of a big disappointment and surprise that the way they got knocked out. But to be fair, my personal opinion was, even though New York won last year, I wasn't expecting them to make a massive run with this major, because they haven't been looking amazing. Like, in my opinion, they look good, but they didn't look amazing or anything. It was just a surprise at how fast, like how early they got knocked out, because I expected them to make a slightly better run than that, right? And they were just sort of the bottom 12 with the major. Then the other big surprise was there was a mid-tier team that was doing really well online, and I was supporting them. I had them like getting to the grand finals, but I had them going to the losers bracket at a certain point and then making the run up to the grand finals was my prediction for them. And they also got knocked out very early. They played very poorly online, the Miami Heretics. So that was a kind of I was playing my heart with Miami Heretics. Like, I didn't expect them, like, if I was being true to myself, like true to like the stats and all and how good a team they really were, I wouldn't have expected them to make quite much of a run. Like I would have expected them to get knocked out at some point. But because I was rooting for them. Like I was hoping they'd do better. I was like honestly like rooting for them so much that I was like, man, if they make it to the grand finals or close to it, I might support them for the rest of the year. They might be my team. Like I'll pick them to like be my kind of dark horse of the tournament, like the CDL this year. But yeah, they got wrecked in the LAN matches, and they got knocked out early too, similar to the Sublimers. So that was another disappointing team. Again, I was playing my heart with them, hoping they'd get a good run with it. But realistically, no one was expecting a whole load from them. But again, better than what they did. So like they underperformed even with the lower expectation tag. You know, if you went with the low expectation, they still underperformed behind that, right? Now the teams that were extremely surprising this year with this major, was the Carolina Royal Ravens. They actually did a pretty interesting run on the lower bracket. They didn't go crazy far with it, but they did the matches they played and the ones that they won were reasonably impressive. That like, okay, they're decent. They're not horrible like I thought initially. Like a lot of these lower tier teams, a lot of them have been playing pretty poorly up to this point, but Carolina did a reasonably decent job to like change my mind. Like, okay, there's potential here, right? Maybe they can get their things together and potentially make a interesting run to the championships. But whether they win or not, I don't think they will. But they might. You know, I think their potential for surprises with them, right? And the same applies to like the Los Angeles Gorillas, and I think the biggest surprise was the Rockers, Minnesota Rockers. Minnesota Rockers got fourth, basically. They lost to Optic, and then Optic went on to lose to FaZe, right? So Rocker got like fourth, like in the bracket. But like I wasn't expecting like the Rocker run was actually pretty impressive. Like it was a surprise. All the teams they beat, I think most people had them losing to. Like no one expected them to beat and then make the run they did. So definitely again, potential for surprise with the Rocker for future games and all that, right? I think this team that I'm going to talk about, like I'm not going to name them, but one team made a okay run, but one of the like players during his interview looked really weird, and rumors started like floating around that maybe this guy is on drugs, like maybe he popped the pill like Ritalin or something like that, right, to get the edge, and that's why he was looking so weird during his interview. Reason I don't want to call him out or the team out is because if you know, you probably already know who I'm talking about. But the reason I don't want to call them out is because there's no definitive proof that this happened, and I definitely feel that instance, like the rumors that are floating around, it definitely tainted the major a little bit in a negative way. My personal feelings to it is like I think they should have probably like taken the guy aside and drug tested him, and if he like went positive for the drug, they should have suspended him on the spot. They didn't. Like unfortunately with sports, all sports, they let these things slide until like bigger controversy blows up, and then they start like reforming, right? And things start changing. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not against drugs and stuff. In fact, I'm like pro like legalization for a lot of them, for most of everything. In my opinion, I don't think they should be illegal. But when it comes to sports and competitive, I am totally against it. Like especially like enhancing ones, like the ones that will enhance your sport thing. I think that shouldn't be tolerated. And the sad thing is, the team, like the coach and all that, a lot of like there's a history with some of these other players in the team and the coach and all. Like, it brings so many things into question. Like, what is going on here? Why did this even happen? And who let this go down? Why did they let this go down? And like it just sort of like ruined certain aspects of it for sure. And I think just the fact that there was the mismanagement issue with this small instance here, where again, I don't know, I could be wrong. Maybe he was just tired, right? That's very likely the case also. But it sort of like is the reason why I'm not super into the CDL at the moment. Like, I think there's a lot of mismanagement going on with the CDL that brings so many things into question. And man, I have to repeat all of this because I said this in the first take, but I'm not sure whether I'll keep this one or not. But the CDL, when it was formed, this particular iteration of the Call of Duty like competitive scene, it was formed like the next big sports kind of thing, right? So that's why there was a lot of investment and all, and some of the senior people in Activision were the ones who pushed for this kind of CDL like creation, and charged a lot of money to the like owners to like allow them to join the team and all. So there was a lot of money involved in the creation of the CDL. Now, obviously, there was a competitive scene prior to this, but it wasn't kind of as officially run as this one is. And this one was kind of sold as the official thing that they were going to create and market. Unfortunately, because of mismanagement, the usual nonsense, and I genuinely believe the whole CDL thing was a scam as far as like the people who invested in it. Not so much for like the viewers and us. Like for us, it doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't affect me in any which way. But as far as like the owners and stuff, man, this was a huge scam. Huge scam. I've talked about this before, and like my personal opinion is there should be a committee of like ex-pros, few developers and stuff like that that aren't tied to any specific teams or anything like that, but are very knowledgeable of the pro scene and have like good decision making potential. Like even the developer should be part of the rank mode kind of development, and also they're like know what they're talking about. But that committee should be what is responsible for what the rules are, what the restrictions are, what items are allowed and what items are not allowed, which maps should be played in, which maps should be allowed into the ranked mode and the pro scene. Not right now, it's kind of like all the players make the decisions and this, that, and the other. And had there been a proper committee, there should also be like officials like who look into like problematic issues like the drug abuse scene and stuff like that, or like rules being broken. So one, I definitely think there should have been some official like decision like, yo, there's some issue going on with this guy. Maybe we need to like test him and see that he's not cheating the system, right, with the enhancing drugs. The other thing is like the same team and a few other teams have been breaking a lot of GAs, like the gentleman agreements. And because there's no real like committee or official scene, it's just kind of left to the players to decide what the punishments are for these people who are breaking the rules or the like restrictions that they've put on to this tournaments, like onto the game, right? And the people that have been breaking it and stuff, like right now, it's kind of just like, oh, we won't scrim them, we won't do this and all. And it's just such nonsense, man, the way like it's run and handled. Like, I think Tactical Rab talked about this, and I have to agree with him. And it was something I was also thinking about prior to listening to that YouTube content creator like talk about it. But ideal scenario is there's a committee, not like the players that decide these things, right? And the punishment should be doled out by the committee, not the players. So That way, like if some team is breaking rules or the gentleman agreements and all that have been officially recognized by the committee, then the appropriate punishment can be doled out to them without the other players being involved, right? And my personal opinion, and something similar to what Tactical Rab kind of like mentioned, but this was again something I was thinking about prior to even hearing his like suggestion, is honestly it should be like something like a soccer game, like where you can get a yellow card and a red card, and if you break the agreement the first, I mean break a rule the first time, the committee can issue a yellow card to you. If you break it a second time, you get the red card, and maybe you're suspended from one of the matches, and the substitute has to play in your place. If you continue breaking the rules, like and get multiple red cards in a tournament, maybe you get suspended, and the substitute has to take your place permanently. This would not only like incentivize like proper play and just easier way of like handling the situation where it's not the players doling out the punishment, but it also would incentivize teams to like have substitutes that have value. Where sometimes right now the substitutes are just kind of like the coach or something like that. Whereas if there's a potential that your teammate could get suspended and you don't have a substitute, you're going to be in trouble. Like I think ideal scenario is if a player gets suspended, like because the committee decides they've broken the like rules one too many times, and maybe multiple players in the same team get suspended because multiple of them have broken the rules, right? Maybe like, and you don't have enough substitutes, maybe you force the team to play with one man down. It's like, oh, you don't have a player to like fill the spot. That's your problem, right? These are the kind of things where like a committee could enforce better regulation in comparison to forcing the teams and players to do this stuff. And it's what you'd expect from a pro sports organization or tournament system, right? But that's just not how it's playing out in COD, which is why constantly I feel like the COD scene is such a scam, man. I'm like, man, this is a joke. So yeah, I think that's kind of how it should be playing out, but it's just not. I mean, honestly, the way it's looking like, it seems like the CDL is kind of on its last legs. I think the people who scammed the investors in this kind of concept have got away with it, and the investors who got scammed seem to not be doing anything about it, and it looks like it's just sort of falling apart, the scene, and most likely it'll end similar to like how like the Overwatch scene has ended, right? Pro scene has ended, and hopefully whatever stems from the ashes of this scam, honestly, is something more, better managed and something better for the scene. But yeah, at the moment right now, it's a mess. It's like genuinely like disgusting, and like I've ranted about like the GAs and stuff, like how players shouldn't like. For example, here's another GA that should be looked into, and I'm wondering whether it even will be because the pro players probably won't bother. But the reason the Renetti is the primary secondary for most of the players right now is because the melee weapon got GA'd. The melee weapon got GA'd because of the time to kill in this game. It was really easy to cheese a kill with the melee weapon because it was a one-shot kill, right? So makes sense. Okay, there's a longer time to kill. The melee is kind of a cheese ball weapon because it can kill you so fast, and you can kind of like run a little circle out around the gunner and just stab them, and you got the kill. And it really is a little bit like cheese ball on the pro level. Now in ranked mode, they've announced that because of like the knife being a little too OP in ranked mode, they're changing it so it's a 2-hit kill in ranked. So the melee weapon is no longer a 1-hit kill in ranked mode. Now that change should apply to the CDL rule set, right? Also, because ranked mode is supposed to mimic the CDL, right? But so this should solve, like, no, there's no reason to GA the melee weapon anymore because it's a 2-hit kill. It should be a 2-hit kill in ranked and CDL in the pro scene. but I almost guarantee you they will not review the melee weapon come Major 2. Like, even if this change applies to the CDL rule sets in the pro scene, they'll probably not bother looking back at it. And this is the kind of things like where a committee would. They'd be like, okay, the developers and the like ex-pros will be like, oh, we fixed the problem. Now we can allow this to be like available to the pros. So then you can have players utilizing the melee weapons to make those initial pushes for that movement speed and all, and not have to worry that, oh, the knife is now going to be a cheese ball weapon to kill, like, get cheesy kills, right? But it probably won't get re-reviewed because the players won't bother, right? And that's why it shouldn't be on them to decide those things. So yeah, and those are my like little rants about CDL and what went down with the major and all that goodness. I'm pretty sure I've forgotten something that I was ranting about in the second stream, but who cares, honestly. But yeah, viewership rewards. As far as this blueprint goes, the Frostbite one, it's with the Call of Duty like viewership rewards. They tend to not do second chances often, like or regularly or anything like that. So if you missed out, you probably missed out with this one. That being said, though, last year they kind of surprised me, and there were occasions where they did like second chances with certain blueprints and viewership rewards. Like I think last year, actually, the Warzone Championship, all those viewership like rewards were actually like second chances on blueprints that you could have earned during the CDL viewership. So sometimes they will give you a second chance, and you just sort of have to keep your eye out on what the what the viewership rewards are and all that. Like I said, with last year it was the Warzone one, so you sort of had to look at the Warzone website, the like whatever the World Series of Warzone website, to see what the viewership rewards were there when that was going down, and then you would know. But I'm going to link the CDL website in the description. I definitely recommend keep an eye out on the viewership rewards section of the CDL website. That's where they tend to update what the viewership rewards are and what you have to do to earn them and where to watch and all that and how to link up your accounts, and all of that information is there. Like I said, I don't know if this one there will ever be a second chance for this particular blueprint. They might not, I don't know. But Major 2 will definitely have new viewership rewards. The preliminary rounds will probably have XP tokens and stuff like that. And then the Major will have some nice rewards, I'm sure. Sometimes, most of the time it's decent. Most of the time it's okay stuff. So I would definitely recommend keeping an eye on that website and just checking the viewership rewards so you know when to next watch, and so you can earn your stuff. Like for me, like I don't get these rewards. I get them the same time as everybody else, right? So I can only check it out after the major is over, and by then it's too late. So yeah, heads up for the next one. Keep an eye on that website. Check out the viewership rewards for what will be coming up next. But yeah, that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Check out my old streams if you haven't already. And yeah, congratulations, Toronto Ultra. Glad to see they win the Major 1. And looking forward to seeing at least the top tier. Like I've been sort of tuned out with the majors and the like pro matches. But the good stuff, like the good matches, the good teams, and like once I find out if there's a match that was particularly exciting, I do go back and watch the VODs and all that for those for sure. And they tend to be quite exciting. So I'm looking forward to at least that much engagement to the CDL matches. Hope you guys enjoyed. Check out my streams if you haven't already. I'll catch you later. Bye. Yeah, the blueprint's all right. Looks okay. Wish there was better camo coverage. And yeah, it's okay. It's only okay.